People's 143, LAPD item 120, 7 20 milliliter propofol vials. People's 144, LAPD item 121, 2 lidocaine vials. People's 144, LAPD item 122, 1 lidocaine vial. People's 147, LAPD item 123, 2 lorazepam vials. People's 146, LAPD item 124, 4 flumazenil vials. People's 145, LAPD item 125, 3 midazolam vials. People's 157, LAPD item 112, IV tubing. People's 158, LAPD item 112, IV Y connector tubing. People's 159, LAPD item 112, syringe with needle.
So stipulated by the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
So stipulated by the defense?
It is.
The stipulation is accepted by the court. In view of the stipulation, Mr. Walgren, do you want to have the court receive in evidence People's 167, which is the written stipulation?
I would, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Chernoff?
No.
Thank you. People's 167 is received in evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, as I've instructed earlier, when both parties in this case stipulate to a fact, that means both parties agree to the fact, it is not a dispute, and that fact must be accepted by you. And in view of the nature of the stipulation and the number of items in the stipulation, it's going to be provided to you in written form, which is People's 167, so it's not like you have to feverishly try to write down everything that was just read. I saw some of you start, some of you actually completed the task, but others, I think, got a little lost. The important thing is it's significant evidence, as is every other matter that's received in evidence. You'll have it in writing, and if you need the actual verbal stipulation read back, by all means you can ask for it. So please accept the stipulation. Thank you. Mr. Walgren.
And there was an additional stipulation as it relates to the next witness, Dan Anderson.
All right, thank you.
Counsel, would you stipulate that the next witness, Dan Anderson, supervising criminalist in the forensic laboratories of the LA County Coroner's Office, is qualified and capable of testifying to all the toxicology results in this case, and that should he testify to the results obtained by other analysts or criminalists, defense counsel would be waiving any hearsay objection to such testimony?
So stipulated. Mr. Flanagan on behalf of the defense, Mr. Walgren on behalf of the people.
So stipulated, Your Honor.
The stipulation's accepted, and again, that stipulation must be accepted by the jurors. By any chance, do any of you want it read back? Nobody? Okay. If you need it read back, you let us know. Thank you. Please accept the stipulation. Mr. Walgren?
With that, people would call Dan Anderson. I believe they're getting him from the hallway.
Thank you.
Sir, would you please stand in the witness box? Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Thank you.
Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
Sure. My name's Dan Anderson, D-A-N, Anderson, A-N-D-E-R-S-O-N.
Mr. Anderson, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me provide you with instructions, which I provide to every witness in every case. The first instruction is to please sit back and relax. The second instruction is to speak loudly so everyone can hear you. The third instruction is to answer questions yes or no if called for, rather than using slang like which can be confusing. And the last instruction is to wait until you hear an entire question before answering it, even though you think you may know the answer. In that way, we won't have people talking over each other at the same time. Is all of that acceptable?
I understand, yes.
Thank you. Direct examination by the people. Mr. Walgren.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Mr. Anderson, where are you employed?
I'm employed with the Los Angeles County Department of Coroner as a supervising criminalist or as a toxicologist.
And what is a toxicologist?
A toxicologist is a person who works on biological specimens, analyzes for drugs and poisons, as well as makes interpretations of those drugs and their levels in regards to an investigative process, such as medical legal death investigation.
Okay. And how long have you been employed as a toxicologist with the LA County Coroner's Office?
I have basically, when I got out of school, I have a Bachelor's of Science degree from Colorado State University in 1988. I have a Master's of Science degree from University of New Haven in Connecticut in 1990. And basically, I've been a criminalist/toxicologist since 1990 till present day. I have been at the LA County Coroner's Office since 1990. I do have a one-year stint in there where I was at the Ventura County Sheriff's Department. I spent a year there as a toxicologist as well.
So you've worked exclusively in this field of toxicology since 1990?
That's correct, a little over 21 years.
And you indicated your current position is a supervising criminalist?
That's correct.
And what is that?
It's basically, I'm ultimately responsible for the toxicology laboratory. All the analytical results that come out of that facility, I'm ultimately responsible for, as well as the people.
Okay. And as far as the testing and the results, when you say you're responsible for it, can you please elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, each of the analysts that are under me are trained, qualified analysts who perform the work. I also perform work, too. I mean, I'm just not a supervisor at my desk pushing papers. I'm actually very sound analytically. I'm on the bench. I still have to do the work. Due to staffing shortages of our laboratory, I'm on the bench helping out just as much as the rest of them. So I'm ultimately responsible for that type of work, the validation process of the methodology, making sure that the results are correct, in working with the medical examiners in our facility to interpret the drug levels and what they mean to that particular case with its scenario.
Okay, what do you mean by the term, you use it a couple times, you're on the bench? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I still put on that white lab coat. I still jump into that laboratory, whether my analysts want it there or not. I'm still in there helping out. With staff shortages, people go on vacation, their work still has to get done. And because we don't have anybody, I jump in there and actually perform some of the work. I'll do cocaine analysis and opiate analysis and a variety of different types of tests just to keep the process moving.
Okay. Now back to your education, you said you had a Master's of Science?
Correct.
Okay, and in what field?
Well, it's actually in criminalistics. It's a concentration in criminalistics. Criminalistics is a broad discipline of forensic science. It can cover biology, DNA, toxicology, drug analysis, trace analysis. You get an overbroad type of education. When I was hired by Los Angeles County Coroner in 1990, my discipline immediately became toxicology. I became a trained toxicologist. And from 1990 until present day, by attending, many professional societies, organizations, workshops, I'm able to gain my experience through the learning process as well as being on the bench.
All right. And do you personally have any particular certifications in the field of toxicology?
Yes, I actually have two certifications, one by the American Board of Criminalistics and then the next by the American Board of Forensic Toxicology.
And in your employment with the LA County Coroner's Office, clearly you did not begin as a supervising criminalist. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. I actually started out as a criminalist, was promoted to senior criminalist. That's when I left for Ventura County, thinking grass was greener somewhere else. Came back as a supervising criminalist, and I've been there since 1995, back at the office in the capacity of supervisor.
Now, you also mentioned a few other terms that I want to ask you about. In your role as a supervising criminalist, you said some of the things you're responsible for, I believe you used the word methodology, validation, beginning with methodology, what is that reference, and can you explain that to us?
Sure. Methodology is a generic term that we use within the toxicology field. It's how you apply or how you extract out the drugs of interest from a biological matrix. So it's the method that you apply. It's different chemistry, chemical extractions, how you get it onto an instrument to tell you what drugs are present or not present. It's a cleanup process. How you extract out and isolate the drugs of interest from a biological matrix such as blood and get it onto an instrument. There's various methods that can be employed that are commonly used around the nation. You basically have to investigate, choose one, and validate it within your own laboratory.
All right, and then again, validation, what does that mean?
Well, validating a method, there's a series of steps that you have to go through. You basically are trying to achieve the right answer. I mean, that's the whole idea of any type of method is, can you achieve the right answer at the back end or at the end? So, I mean, you go through a variety of extraction procedures. You repeat yourself several times to make sure that your answers are consistent within each other. You determine accuracy, you determine precision, you determine percent recovery of the drug, a variety of things to that nature.
All right. And in your lab at the LA County Coroner's Office, is there, or actually in any lab, is there a difference between, for example, biological testing and medical evidence testing?
In our laboratory, yes. Laboratories around the nation, it can be one and the same. We have standard operating procedures for both. We treat biological specimens such as bloods, urine, vitreous or eyeball fluid, and you apply a method or standard operating procedure as such. The medical evidence is a little bit more simpler of a process. It still uses the same type of instruments. The methodology is a little bit simpler, but it's the same rigmarole that you have to apply to it, yes.
Is that a scientific word?
It's my word, thank you.
All right. Let's talk about biological testing.
Okay.
And I'm speaking just generally, but as it relates to your lab and your job as a supervising criminalist. You get a biological sample brought into evidence at the coroner's office, and what happens at that point as far as the steps that are taken, the process that is taken, and the validation, et cetera, that takes place, if you could kind of educate us on that.
Sure. The autopsy occurs by the pathologist. He collects all the different biological specimens that he feels warrant in the case. They are brought to the laboratory with the proper chain of custody, making sure everything is correctly labeled and what have you. The laboratory actually receives those particular specimens, and we log them into our system, our toxicology system. So now we own them. And at that point in this process, you evaluate the case. The doctor has asked for a set of tests using your expertise, and along with the history of the case, the toxicologist, myself or another, would assess the case to make sure that the doctor has correctly assessed it and asked for the correct drugs, in essence. We take a look at that type of case and the specimens, what we have, and we ask for a variety of tests that will be performed on the case. Paperwork gets generated. In our laboratory, we only have, I think at the time of this particular case in 2009, we had 9 or 8 analysts at the time. We typically go through about 6,000 cases each and every year in this office. So between 7 or 8 people, it's really moving along for efficiency. In that process, you have all 7 or 8 people working on one case at one time. Okay? Everyone has a hand in the pot at the time. Therefore, everyone has to get the job done on that case. And it's an assembly line type style process. And that allows us to be a lot more efficient with casework. Okay? So paperwork, after we get the specimens, evaluate it, we'll actually make the requests in the computers, and the request sheets, as they call them, or service request sheets, will actually get dispersed to a variety of people, and everyone starts the process at that point.
Okay.